In the grim darkness of the far future, there exists a figure whose name is etched in the annals of infamy and reverence alike, Lorgar. He, the chosen of the Word, the apostle of the Chaos Gods, strides forth with a visage shrouded in both shadow and light, a paradox incarnate. His eyes, orbs of fervent zeal, blaze with a devotion that transcends mortal understanding, for Lorgar is not merely a man, but a harbinger of twisted divinity. Lorgar's presence is a palpable force, an aura that bends the air and warps reality itself. He is a towering figure, his stature magnified by the weight of his divine purpose. The crozius in his hand, a symbol of his unyielding faith, glows with an unholy light, a beacon for the lost souls he gathers into his fold. His voice, when he speaks, is a resonant echo of conviction and madness, a cadence that enthralls and ensnares. In the dusky arid expanses of Colchis, where the horizon bled into the ochre sky, Lorgar was found, and even in his infancy, the winds of that forsaken world seemed to whisper of his coming greatness. Raised amidst the devout and the zealous, he was steeped in a fervour that pervaded the very soil of his homeland, where every stone and shadow held echoes of forgotten gods. As a youth, Lorgar wandered the temple precincts, his eyes wide with wonder, absorbing the sacred texts and arcane rituals as naturally as he breathed. Marked by profound yearning for the divine, the priests of Colchis saw in him a vessel, a chosen one to interpret the celestial will they believed governed their existence. His days were filled with the rhythm of prayers, the scent of incense, and the chants of the faithful melding with the crackling of sacrificial flames. Yet, within Lorgar's heart stirred a question that no doctrine could quell, a hunger for a truth beyond rigid confines of his upbringing. Standing upon the ancient ziggurats, gazing over the barren plains, his thoughts drifted to the heavens, seeking the ineffable and the infinite. Thus, the boy became a prophet, destined to challenge the very foundations of the Imperium. Those early years on Colchis were the crucible in which his indomitable spirit was forged, setting him on a path that would lead to both glory and damnation. In the grand theatre of the Great Crusade, where the stars themselves seemed to bow before the inexorable march of the Emperor's legions, Lorgar emerged as a figure of profound contradiction. Among his brothers, he was the most devout, his heart a temple to the Emperor, whom he worshipped not merely as a ruler, but as a god incarnate. With each world brought into compliance, Lorgar sought not just to conquer, but to convert. He saw the Emperor's light as a beacon to illuminate the darkness of ignorance and superstition. His word-bearers, ever zealous, followed him with a devotion that bordered on fanaticism. They did not merely raise the Aquila, they built cathedrals in its honour, spreading the imperial creed. Yet, in the cold, calculating eyes of the Emperor, Lorgar's devotion was misplaced. The master of mankind desired unity and order, not adulation. Worship was a distraction, a return to the old ways that humanity had shed like a tattered cloak. And so, upon the world of Monarchia, in a spectacle of fire and ash, the Emperor delivered his rebuke. The city, a testament to Lorgar's piety, was razed, its monuments reduced to rubble. Lorgar's heart, once a blazing hearth of faith, shattered in that moment. He stood amidst the ruins of his dreams, his spirit adrift in a void of betrayal and disillusionment. The Emperor, whom he had venerated above all, had rejected him. The wound festered, and in the depths of his despair, Lorgar sought solace in the whispers that had long lingered at the edges of his consciousness. It was Erebus, his trusted first chaplain, who guided him to the forbidden tomes and ancient rites. He spoke of powers beyond the Emperor's reach, of gods who would welcome Lorgar's devotion, who would not spurn his faith. The Primarch, his heart a storm of doubt and longing, delved into these dark mysteries, and there he found the truth he had been seeking. The ruinous powers, the gods of chaos, opened their arms to him. They whispered secrets of the cosmos, promises of power and enlightenment. They did not demand the cold logic of compliance. They reveled in the ecstasy of worship, the chaos of existence. Lorgar, the lost son, embraced their truth, his faith finding new purpose in the swirling madness of the warp. In the annals of the Horus heresy, that great schism that rent the galaxy asunder, Lorgar stood as both architect and instrument of destiny's dark design. Once he had been the Emperor's most devout servant, his faith a beacon in the cold expanse of the stars. But now, as the galaxy convulsed in the throes of civil war, he was the prophet of chaos, his heart and soul bound to the gods of the warp. The whispers that had once been mere susurrations at the edge of his mind now roared like the torrent of a swollen river. Lorgar, ever the preacher, became the harbinger of the new order, his words dripping with the venom of betrayal and the promise of dark enlightenment. His legion, the word-bearers, were his apostles, spreading the creed of chaos with the fervour of zealots. In the shadow of Horus, the War Master, who had dared to defy the Emperor, Lorgar found a kindred spirit. They were brothers, not just by blood, but by purpose. The grand deception at Istavan V, the massacres, the betrayals, these were not merely acts of war, but sacraments in the liturgy of their rebellion. Lorgar's role was not merely that of a warrior, but of a priest, sanctifying the corruption that spread like wildfire through the Imperium. In the aftermath of the heresy, as the traitor legions fled to the Eye of Terror, Lorgar did not retreat into obscurity. No, his path was set, his purpose unbroken. In the twisted realms of the Eye, he continued his work, the fires of his faith undimmed by defeat. The warp was his crucible, and in its maelstrom, he forged his legion anew. The demon worlds, those nightmarish planets caught between reality and the warp, became his domain. Here, Lorgar meditated on the truths of chaos, his soul entwined with the gods he had embraced. His word-bearers, more fanatical than ever, constructed vast cathedrals of flesh and bone, their chants echoing through the immaterium. Lorgar, now a demon prince, was a figure of terrible majesty. His flesh was a shifting tapestry of the warp's power, his eyes burning with the light of unholy knowledge. He was a god among his followers, a prophet of the end times. His voice, a siren call to the damned, continued to spread the gospel of chaos, promising eternal salvation in the embrace of the dark gods. Through the centuries, his influence waxed and waned, but never faded. The Imperium, beset on all sides by the horrors he had unleashed, could never forget the architect of its greatest schism. Lorgar's legacy was not just in the shattered worlds and broken dreams, but in the hearts of those who turned from the Emperor's light to the seductive shadows of chaos. In the eternal war that raged across the stars, Lorgar remained a pivotal figure, his deeds echoing through the ages. He was the prophet who had seen the truth behind the veil of reality, the apostle who had dared to embrace damnation for the promise of a greater purpose. His story, a dark hymn in the litany of the galaxy's sorrow, was far from over, for in the realms of chaos, time was but a plaything, and eternity awaited his next move.